Here we are again, people. iPhone versus Android. It may not be the oldest tech rivalry, but it's certainly one of the most fierce. But with competition comes great innovation, and with innovation comes amazing products. Products like the iPhone XS and Pixel 3. Both of these handsets are packed to the brim with intelligent software and incredible hardware, with very nice cameras to match. Just looking at the two makes us want to pit them together like action figures, like kids again. So, who wins the fight this year? Of course, we'll start with design. Looks aren't everything, but they're certainly important for smartphones at this level. Both of these are simple, glass meets metal devices. The Pixel 3 feels good in hand, with its matte and gloss finish back and aluminum sides. The face has thin bezels on the sides, but a pronounced forehead and chin on top and bottom. Overall, it's a simple, balanced, and light device, which feels premium. The iPhone XS, though, is a seriously premium-feeling device. It has a heft and weight to it that immediately lets you know you're holding a device made from the highest-end materials in the industry. The Pixel 3 feels as though it's a step below the iPhone XS's high-end look and feel. In this respect, the XS seems to earn its premium price tag based on looks and feel alone, while the Pixel 3, being a slightly less expensive device, feels like it should cost less than the XS. Stylistically, another divergence comes from the screens. While both endeavor to achieve the edge-to-edge design, the two flagships go about it in different ways. The XS has a slim, uniform bezel going around 3/4 of the screen, except, of course, at the top where the notch sits. We've talked about the notch at length, as many have, but it ultimately becomes a very inconsequential part of your screen experience. Not to mention that it eliminates the need for a big chin or forehead on the device. The Pixel 3 opts to forego the notch, and instead keeps larger bezels at the top and bottom than at the sides. It's not a bad look per se, and with the new rounded corners of the screen, it's certainly more modern than the Pixel 2, but looking at this face doesn't exactly scream cutting edge. Technically, we're looking at two vibrant, highly detailed OLED displays with great color accuracy. While the XS offers automatic hue changes via the True Tone setting, the Pixel 3 has a manual 3-step scale for dialing up contrast. The iPhone's environment sensing tones are nice, as is the much higher max brightness at 664 nits versus the Pixel's 459, making the iPhone's screen significantly more versatile. Even though these screens are the same width, the iPhones look significantly wider and overall bigger than the Pixel 3's, despite it only being 1/3 of an inch bigger when measured diagonally. All of this together gives the XS the edge in the display department. When it comes to comparing the best that Android has to offer with the best iOS iterations, it's hard to imagine pitting the iPhone against anything other than a Pixel device. Not only is this one of the cleanest and lightest Android incarnations, but this year, Google pulled out some innovative new tricks for its flagship smartphone. Arguably the coolest new feature is call screening, a Google Assistant-driven call screening service which adds an eponymous third button to the deny and accept options. Essentially, this feature screens the call for you and allows you to either pick up the call or mark it as spam based on the caller's live transcribed responses. Speech recognition can get a little wonky sometimes, but otherwise the execution of this useful tool is pretty good, and the iPhone XS currently has no such similar features. The Pixel 3 will also soon have Duplex, another assistant-driven feature which enables the Google Assistant to call restaurants, make reservations for you, and once confirmed, notify you and add them to your calendar. Pretty high-level stuff. Again, Apple has no such analogous feature, which speaks largely to Siri's inferiority to the Google Assistant. A topic we won't dive into too deeply, as it's a pretty simple situation. The Google Assistant is just better in every way. While we're on the topic though, the wireless charging Pixel stand adds another dimension to the Pixel 3 by turning it into a smart screen, another feature for which the iPhone currently has no answer, though Siri can control smart devices via traditional commands. The XS does have its software-related advantages though. First and foremost, the level of support for iOS is unparalleled for the iPhone XS. While Google guarantees Android version updates for at least 3 years on the Pixel 3, iOS 12, the latest version of Apple's mobile OS, is officially compatible with iPhones going back 5 generations, 6 if you count the iPhone SE. This length of product support time is unrivaled in the industry, and it's a huge value proposition when purchasing an iPhone XS. It's simply as future-proof as a smartphone can get right now. Then there's app and accessory support, both third-party and first. There's been a long-standing disparity between iOS and Android devices when it comes to device ecosystems, with the iPhone always holding the advantage. And while the disparity is lessened, a difference is still clear. The bottom line is this: you'll have more compatible and seamlessly integrated accessories and apps for your iPhone XS than you will your Pixel 3. Both the Pixel 3 and iPhone XS are fun phones to use, and this year both have introduced useful ways to not use their phones as well. With the release of screen time on the iPhone XS and digital well-being on the Pixel 3, both have nearly the exact same functionalities to encourage limiting phone use, and both are easily overridden by the user. In terms of effortless and intuitive operation though, the XS earns the edge over the Pixel 3, which is easy as pie, or should we say easier than pie, gesture navigation. These gestures make navigating through your phone an exceedingly smooth, smart, and effortless experience. Android 9 Pie's gesture navigation essentially attempts to mimic this, but does so in a less fluid and intuitive way, requiring a series of movements and holds rather than the simple swipes of iOS. The iPhone XS also has class-leading facial recognition software with integration so seamless and quick that it makes using any other form of authentication seem slow and outdated. iOS is, as always, solid as a rock, well supported, and a pleasure to use. Of course, at the end of the day, preference plays a large role in what's best for you. But from an objective standpoint, it's hard to say that at this point the Pixel 3's cool features outweigh the iPhone XS's reliability, support, and its own class-leading innovations. Looking at the silicone driving these two phones, you'll come to realize another one of Apple's biggest advantages: in-house processor design. The A12 Bionic and 4GB RAM found in the iPhone XS again turns in class-leading performance in a variety of benchmarks. And real-life usage of course doesn't disappoint. Google uses the popular Snapdragon 845 with 4GB of RAM to power the Pixel 3, but unfortunately this is far from the most impressive implementation of this SoC when looking at the benchmarks. Fortunately, day-to-day use on the Pixel 3 is quite smooth, but it's clear that when processes get more intense, as in the case with gaming for instance, the iPhone XS holds a clear power advantage over the Pixel 3. The XS also utilizes a dedicated neural processing chip for on-device machine learning tasks, like predicting your next actions and searching your photos for specific subjects for instance. The Pixel 3 has its fair share of on-device machine learning tasks too, like Now Playing, a song ID function that runs in the background without internet connection, speech transcription in the call screening feature, and a few camera-specific functions we'll get into later. The Pixel 3 doesn't have a dedicated processor for all machine learning tasks though, only for those related to the camera, the Pixel Visual Core. Perhaps a dedicated neural processing chip could help non-camera related tasks, like the sometimes spotty speech transcription and call screening. The Pixel 3 comes in either 64GB or 128GB versions and doesn't offer expandable storage, while the iPhone XS offers 64, 256, and 512GB storage options. Another value proposition helping to justify its higher price and bolster its future-proof prowess. Taking all into account, the XS earns the advantage in this department, offering exponentially higher storage capacities and displaying higher capabilities in most every processing task. When it comes to the camera hardware, there's a lot of similarities between these two devices, as you can see from these key specs. The main difference, however, is the iPhone's addition of a 12-megapixel telephoto camera for 2x optical zoom and portrait functions. Touching on software quickly, the Pixel 3 has some key features that Google hopes can push it above and beyond strong competitors like the iPhone XS. One of them is Top Shot, which captures multiple photos from before, during, and after a single shutter click. Top Shot, when enabled, picks the best shot from the series for you, and even allows you to select and save alternatives from what it captured. While this can be fun and useful, it didn't quite make or break the Pixel 3 as a better picture taker when comparing against the iPhone XS. Night sight is another feature the Pixel 3 boasts, but unfortunately isn't yet available, though early reports of this feature have been quite impressive. This should improve extremely low light photo capture, leveraging AI to fill in missing details and colors, but we'll have to test it ourselves to properly see the capabilities when it does come out. Image capture on these two phones is strikingly similar, but with a couple of key differences. In bright or dynamic sceneries, both capture exquisite detail and accurate colors while displaying expert exposure. Low light photos are where you'll see the more marked differences between the two, but much of these differences come down to a matter of personal preference. But where the iPhone XS illuminates some of the darkest shadows, the Pixel 3 does leave these dark, losing just a bit of the finer details. The Pixel 3 also tends to punch up color slightly in darker dynamic scenes, which can look cool, but isn't necessarily the most accurate portrayal of these sceneries. In image quality, we'd give the slight edge to the iPhone XS, due to its ability to more evenly expose sceneries of any lighting, ultimately making it a more versatile shooter, especially with the addition of a telephoto lens. Still, we wouldn't be upset having either of these phones for our main shooter. They're both excellent. Speaking of the XS's telephoto lens, the Pixel 3 has a feature called Super Res Zoom, which Google says uses the natural unsteadiness of your hand to gather more data from the zoomed-in scenes in order to capture a more detailed, less noisy shot. In our samples, we didn't find Super Res Zoom to perform better than the iPhone's dedicated telephoto camera though, but we suppose having this feature is better than nothing. Selfies captured on both are enviable in their detail capture and versatility. The Pixel 3 with its 8-megapixel main camera and the iPhone XS sporting a 7-megapixel front facer can both capture very good regular photos, as well as some pretty adept portrait shots via software utilization. The Pixel 3, however, adds just a bit more versatility by adding a secondary wide-angle camera for bigger, wider selfies. For this, we'll give the selfie edge to the Pixel 3, as they're both on equal footing otherwise. Video quality is an area in which we wish these two stellar cameras were closer, but the iPhone XS easily blows away the Pixel 3. The first thing you'll notice when comparing videos is the extremely compressed sounding audio from the Pixel 3. The iPhone XS doesn't have anything too special in terms of hardware here, but the audio recorded certainly sounds exceedingly better than that of the Pixel. Next, you'll notice a surprising amount of artifacts and noise from the Pixel 3 when recording 4K video in darker dynamic scenes, such as a busy street, despite its otherwise adept optical stabilization. The Pixel's image processing has some real troubles with such sceneries, while the iPhone XS portrays smooth, pleasing imagery in its 4K videos shot in any lighting. The Pixel 3, for the most part, shoots just fine in the daytime, fortunately, but audio issues do persist. So it's a clear choice for us in the video department: the iPhone XS all day and night. Both the XS and Pixel 3 offer stereo speaker setups that get quite loud. While one of the two speakers on the XS is pointed downward, as opposed to the Pixel 3's two front-facing speakers, it's hard to tell a difference in how loud or immersive these two phones both are. Neither phone offers a 3.5mm headphone jack, but the Pixel 3 does come with a USB-C to 3.5mm adapter and a set of USB-C Pixel buds, while the XS only offers a pair of Lightning earpods and nothing else, nixing the 3.5mm adapter from the included accessories. Apple Music versus Google Music is relatively subjective, but there's no doubt that having iTunes to sync your media is a huge advantage for the iPhone XS. With that, we'll be handing this round to the XS for its superior media support. Calls on both of these devices are a pleasure. With loud, clear earpieces and speakerphones, we found no advantages to calling on one of these devices over the other. But if you have the choice, call screening might be a good reason to put your SIM on the Pixel 3. You can use both of these phones relatively heavily throughout the day and not worry about having to juice up until you're ready for bed. Both lasted about 8.5 hours in our custom drain test, and both now support wireless charging. Where the Pixel 3 easily pulls ahead though is in recharge times. The XS charges from 0 to 100 in an unsurprisingly long 3 hours, while the Pixel 3 gets the job done in under 2. We'll confidently say that the Pixel 3 holds the advantage here, making charging our phones much easier on the day-to-day. The iPhone XS and Google Pixel 3 are simply two of the best phones the industry has to offer right now. Both come with class-leading innovations that don't come off as niche or inconsequential, but rather serve to improve fundamental aspects of how you interact with your phone. Whether that be how you snap pics, take phone calls, consume media, or otherwise leverage your fancy, hyper-capable pocket computer to either make your day more fun or easier. You truly can't go wrong with either of these two devices for these reasons, but there's a few reasons you might choose the iPhone XS over the Pixel 3. First is the much flashier yet refined looks. It simply doesn't get more premium than the look and feel of the iPhone XS. Next is the premium hardware. The XS blows away all comers in the benchmark arena, and camera hardware proves itself again to be one of, if not the best. Finally, and perhaps most importantly for some, the iPhone XS gets you as close as you can get to a future-proof device. With software updates typically lasting up to 5 years and class-leading hardware inside and out, it's clear which phone will age better. The Pixel 3 has some promising, cool features, currently and upcoming, and the camera is also one of the best on the market. For now though, these software innovations don't pack enough of a wallop to floor the mighty iPhone XS and the full arsenal that it harbors. I'm Corey Gaskin with PhoneArena. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out PhoneArena.com for our in-depth review on these and many other devices.